Once again, thank you, candidates, for being here this evening to discuss those issues that are important to our business community. Now, it is my pleasure to again introduce one of tonight's sponsors, Bryan Heath, Senior Director, Facilities and MCM Services for SRP, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance one more time, as well as introduce our candidates. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Your attendance here tonight is vital to a healthy political process. That's why by the end of the evening, we hope that you'll come away with a greater knowledge of the candidates and their positions on issues, so you can make a more informed decision when you cast your ballot. I'd like to thank the candidates for joining us this evening and introduce our 4 City Council candidates. Darryl Cross, Ari Kalan, Robert Schroeder, Bryan Soler. Soler, thank you. And now it's my privilege to introduce our moderator for tonight's forum, Ward Nichols. Ward is a 5th-generation native to Arizona in the East Valley. He's been a business entrepreneur most of his life and has built and sold several of his businesses. In 2002, Ward was asked to run for the Arizona House of Representatives and was honored to win and serve the people of Arizona until 2010, when he was termed out from serving. While serving in the legislature, Ward chaired the Rules Committee and had several bills signed by Governors Napolitano and Brewer. Wanting to get back to family and business, Ward chose not to run for Arizona Senate and left public service. Since leaving elected office, Ward has built and sold another business and currently works for ASU, running the East Valley Office of Government and Community Engagement. He loves working with elected officials in the business community of the East Valley on behalf of ASU. He's been married to Paula for 30 years, and they have 3 children. Please welcome Ward Nichols.
Thanks, Bryan. And again, thank all of you for being here today. Just a friendly reminder that we are recording and to be broadcast through the Chamber's website, I believe, hopefully by tomorrow. And then there is a live stream going on right now as well. And so that's kind of why we're doing everything all over again. But rest assured, there are going to be some different questions this time. So I'll get back on script here. Sorry, Marianne. Good evening, and thank you all for participating. I would like to thank all the candidates for joining us tonight during this busy election season. And it truly is busy when you're out putting up signs, knocking doors, and doing the different things to try to get your word out and tell people what you're about. It can get very, very busy. The Chamber and its partners have made every effort to assure tonight's forum will be neutral, balanced, and provide each candidate an equal opportunity for expression of views, resulting in an evening we trust that is both informative and lively. I'm going to get my glasses on so it's not so blurry. Tonight's questions have been compiled by the Apache Junction Area Chamber of Commerce member businesses and community partners that address issues impacting Apache Junction and the business community. In answering, we ask that candidates provide a brief and succinct response so that the maximum number of questions may be asked. Now I'll go over the rules that we've established for tonight's forum. Earlier this evening, the candidates drew numbers on the order in which they are seated. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement to use as they wish. Candidates will have a maximum of 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then there will be rebuttals allowed up to 1 minute each. At the end of the question and answer series, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement, given in reverse order of the opening statements. To ensure fairness and equal opportunity for expression of views and positions, response times will be electronically monitored, and you guys saw how all that worked. Finally, to ensure a fair and nonpartisan forum and for the purpose of our live broadcast, we ask that the audience remain respectful during the forum. Outbursts, displaying of signs, comments, and any type of disruptive behavior during the forum will not be allowed. Anyone who engages in these activities will be asked to leave. So, you guys ready to get started?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. We're gonna lead off with Mr. Schroeder with your opening statement, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome for being here. My name is Robert Schroeder. I am running for re-election for the AJ City Council. So choosing a representative comes with a certain level of consideration. This individual, as your representative, should be able to question staff when certain agenda items come up on the agenda, or advocate for them when they do, if it's best interest of the city. And more importantly, you need to kind of know the difference. Some of these items will come across, and you really have to read the material. You're going to have to do your homework and just make a nice, educated guess on the fact of, is this good for everyone? So as your councilman, what I can bring to you is I have served for 5 years on the Planning and Zoning. I serve on your Water Board. I am currently representing you on the boards of the Central Arizona of Governments and the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority. With that, I bring a wealth of knowledge to the dais, and it allows me to make educated decisions on some of the more complex issues that we face. So as we move forward to keep the city going in the right direction that it's going in now, I feel it'd be beneficial to have individuals up here that are willing to question and learn and have their own individual opinions on matters. We don't necessarily need a bunch of rubber stamps. I'm not suggesting that we have them up here now. I'm just saying that we want people to express their own opinions in these meetings. We want them to have their own ideas, and it's okay, and it's even great to even introduce things to the city. I've currently introduced, we're putting up a service sign at the entrance. I introduced that to council. We worked hard and we got it done, and it's being fabricated as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan, please.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight and giving us some of your time to hear what we're all about. My name is Kalan. I'm a local guy. I grew up right here in Apache Junction, graduated from Apache Junction High School in 2006. I even went to CAC, go Vaqueros. Obviously, there's a lot of change happening in our city right now, and there's going to have to be a lot of decisions of which path do we want to take. Do we want to go down the path and follow a lot of the surrounding communities, such as Santan, Queen Creek, Gilbert, and explode uncontrollably to where they're unrecognizable as a city now of what they once were? I've knocked on a lot of doors and talked to a lot of people in the last 6-7 months, and the big concerns that I've heard from people, whether they were longtime residents or people that came here in the last few years, is, are we going to be able to retain Apache Junction as a small town, as a rural feel, as the city that we all know and love? I'm a small business owner myself, so I understand management. I'm a family man. I'm raising my family here right now, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, is I want to afford my children the same upbringing I had growing up in a rural environment, and the greatness that brings to a childhood, and not having to worry about the bigger city problems. Thank you, and I hope you like what I have to say tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross, your opening statement, please.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. My name's Darryl Cross. I've been an AJ resident since 2004. Married for 36 years to my high school sweetheart. I've got 2 children and 5 grandchildren. I've been a foreman for the fire sprinkler industry for over 35 years. So I've managed a lot of different jobs. I've managed a lot of different men and worked with all kinds of different companies over the years. I'm also currently the chairman of the Superstition Horsemen's Association. I'm a graduate of the Apache Junction Citizen Leadership Institute. And I'm also currently a planning and zoning commissioner right here in AJ. Like a lot of us up here, we all want to see Apache Junction be the best it could ever be. We don't want to see it turn into a downtown Tempe. We don't want to see it turn into a downtown Scottsdale. A lot of people that we've talked to when we've gone and gotten signatures, they want to see AJ stay as a smaller type community, or at least something that we can recognize as a small town community. A lot of people have expressed to me that they want to see a Western type theme to to our AJ. There's lots of great ideas. We have a general plan that's in place, but we really don't have a theme for that general plan. And we need to come up with something so that everybody can participate in it and express their desires. So as we go forward tonight, I look forward to the questions and providing you with good, educated answers, having served with the city for, on planning and zoning for 2 years now. So I've got a pretty good grasp of how the city works. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar.
Hello, thank you for coming. My name is Bryan Solar. I'm running for Apache Junction City Council. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a small-town farm boy. I came out here to become a police officer. I'm an active lieutenant for the city of Mesa. I got my bachelor's degree from Arizona State University in municipal management and business. I got my master's degree from Northern Arizona University in educational leadership. I graduated the FBI Alita Command School, and I also graduated Northwestern University for Executive Command. I've been in charge of the Mesa Phoenix Gateway Airport for 3 years. I also was the president of the Arizona Fraternal Order of Police for over 8 years, where I ran all the operations. It's the largest law enforcement organization in the state of Arizona, and it's also the largest organization in the country, and I sat on the national board. So I have a lot of training and experience for this job. Why I want to run? I think I bring a lot of potential to the council. I've done a lot of growth projects with the City of Mesa Police Department, especially when it comes to building buildings. I was the one that went out and designed the new evidence building they're going to do. I want to bring that knowledge and institutional capabilities to the city so I can help the city manager and the city council and mayor get projects done. I'm a small town guy. I believe in small businesses and small entrepreneurships. I'm not a big box retail guy. I do not like big box retail. I think there's a lot of growth in the city of AJ that's going to happen whether we want it or not. I agree with the mayor in what he said. I want to have very reasonable, very calculated, and extremely controlled growth in our city. I want to make sure what we're bringing in, the types of homes, the types of apartments, the types of businesses, that they fit the needs of our residents and that we get the most bang for our buck out of them by making sure they pay their impact fees and making sure that we do things right the first time so the taxpayers don't have to foot the bill.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Solar. Okay, we'll get on with the question and answer session here. And Mr. Kalan, we'll lead off with you on this one. Give 3 qualifications or skill sets that make you a leading candidate for city council. Explain why these qualifications cause you to stand out amongst your opponents.
Great question. Probably one of the hardest questions to answer is when you have to boast about yourself and give out your qualities, but I'll do my best there. Well, like I said, I'm a small business owner, so I'm in management. I deal with people all the time, whether it's employees, subcontractors, or clients, bridging that gap to what the client wants to what we're capable of doing over here, and then following it through and seeing something done. Probably my thing I'm most prideful about having received in my life, even though this is eons ago, in high school, 3 years in a row, I was voted amongst the staff of the high school the Outstanding Citizen of the Year. And to me, that was huge, because that showed it showed me personally, and I guess those around recognized that I am a great citizen in the community, that I was always helping whoever needed the help. Didn't matter who they were. You know, I was the one that when new kids would come to school, they would ask me to show them around. And I could bridge the gap between this group of kids and this group of kids. I believe that's a great component to have and a skill to have when working for the city, because we have all different kinds of people in the community that want this and want that, and we have to come together and figure out how can we do this for everybody. Number 3, I'm passionate about AJ. I love AJ. I plan on staying here as long as I can, hopefully my whole life. Been here most of my life. My friends that don't live in the city, you know, they've always called me the official, unofficial mayor of AJ, and that's something that I take to heart because I truly represent this city. I've always said that this was a great city, even though some people back before where we're at now, we used to be called certain names, Dysfunction Junction. We heard that going and playing in Scottsdale football and basketball teams, they called us that. But I always stood up for AJ because I knew how great it was here, and people are starting to realize it. And I want to make sure that we continue to show how great we are, the diamond in the rough.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross, same question. Would you like me to repeat?
Sure.
Okay. Give 3 qualifications or skill sets that make you a leading candidate for city council. Explain why these qualifications caused you to stand out amongst your opponents.
Well, for starters, graduate of the Citizen Leadership Institute here that's sponsored by AJ. Gave me a really good understanding of how our city operates on a day in and day out basis. And to segue from that and into my next qualification is I'm a planning and zoning commissioner here in AJ. I've had the opportunity to look at a lot of different projects coming through as of late, make educated and informed decisions on whether it's a good fit for our city or whether it's something that shouldn't be here. The Planning and Zoning Commission is an appointed position. The City Council appoints the individual, and obviously the City Council thought and saw something in me that said I was qualified to be on that seat. The other thing is a couple other things, but I'm currently the chairman of the Superstition Horsemen's Association. We've been a liaison and a watchdog over the city to make sure over the years they haven't put bad laws into place or bad rules into place that affects the horse community. The horse community is a big foundation of our city. It is an economic driver in our city. We have a lot of people come from all over the country to ride horses here. And being a leader of a small organization, a group like that, has afforded me a lot of skill set to be able to help manage our city.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar, same question. Would you like me to repeat it, or are
No,
you good?
I got it.
Okay.
Education is a very big thing for me, and the biggest education I have was my bachelor's in municipal management that really teaches you how to run a city. Along with all the other education I said earlier with my background, I think that is a huge plus for the city because I have a lot of knowledge and skill in how to run a city. And I ran the Arizona Fraternal Order of Police as the president for 8 years, and I sat on the national board, and that was dealing with budgets. I would go down to the state capitol and testify. I would meet with state representatives and senators. I would meet with national representatives and senators. I testified in front of the U.S. Attorney General on border issues back in the day. So I have a lot of experience with that in labor, and I also as a police officer, bring a lot to the city too, because I really want to make sure that we have a very well-trained, well-disciplined police department and ensure they get all the equipment they need and training they need. And I have a lot of plans to work with the chief of police and the city manager to try incorporating with other agencies so we can do some cost sharing on training and education. But my biggest thing, I think, is my drive. I have a hard work drive. I really love Apache Junction. I'm a small town boy, and I want to keep Apache Junction that small town western feel.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder, same question.
So here I thought I was being clever, dropping my resume so I wouldn't repeat myself in an opening statement down the road, and here we are, question number 1. So I guess, experience, again, I'm your incumbent. I've been sitting up here in this dais for the past 3.5 years. Before that, I was a planning and zoning commissioner for 5 years. I serve on numerous boards throughout the region with the CAG and the PARTA and the Water Board. But on a personal note, I started a business here. I've been in business here for 14 years. The community has rallied around my business. I started in 2008, and that's, if all of you guys can remember, probably the most terrible time in recent history to start a business. We managed to get through. I raised my family here. My daughters went to school here. My family and I were heavily involved in the schools here. I too graduated Leadership Institute, very, very informative and I believe important program. And I just want to, take with me the city. I want to be able to be involved in the direction that this city is going in. I've always felt that way, and that's why I got into this in the first place. I originally started showing interest in this city about 10 years ago, and I just want to be a part of it. I want to look back when I'm retired and see Apache Junction thrive and say, I had something to do with that. I really would be proud to be able to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Okay, on to the next question here, and we will begin this question with Mr. Cross. Okay. Cities must be business-friendly to attract diverse business types. Do you feel Apache Junction meets that goal? If so, give examples to support your opinion, and if not, give some examples and explain your plan to correct the problem.
Great question. At times, I see from talking to individuals out in the community that there is a little bit of brokenness in the city. When I have a custom pool builder come to me and say, what's going on? It's taking me 6 months to get a swimming pool permit here in AJ, and it only takes me 2.5 weeks in Mesa. Why does it take so long to get a permit? That's kind of the broken part that I see. But the parts that are working really good is how the whole city came together for the great big development south of the city. We had the developers in, D.R. Horton coming in and presenting their entire package, and the city worked day in and day out, long hours at night, trying to put all the pieces together to where that project would come through and get built. Talking with those developers on an individual basis, they were extremely pleased with how the city operated and how they were able to work with the city and get things done. And so I think that the city definitely has the capabilities. It just needs a little bit of tweaking here and there. And that's some of the things that as a city councilman, we can have discussions with our planning and development department and see where it's broken and come up with good ways to fix it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar, same question. Would you like me to repeat, or?
No, I haven't.
You're good, okay.
I think the city does a very good job. We got excellent employees. I think they do a very good job. I think sometimes there's some communication fall downs and there's some red tape that we can work on cutting through. Mo brought up one of the restaurants that moved from one location to another and ran into a lot of red tape, which slowed things down and which cost them a lot of money. I would like to work to make sure that we have good communication flow and we cut through any red tape for our small business communities so that they can get things done a lot faster and a lot quicker. But overall, I think we do a great job. We have a great Chamber of Commerce. They do excellent work out there for this city. They hold meetings. They have meet and greets where new people coming in with businesses get together and meet with people outside of their area and be able to come in and meet them and talk, and it builds great relationships. So all in all, I think Apache Junction does a really, really good job. I think we have excellent employees. I want to build on that. There's always room to improve. You should always reevaluate and look at how you can make things better. But I really think they do an excellent job.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder, same question.
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes, sir. Cities must be business-friendly to attract diverse business types. Do you feel Apache Junction meets that goal? If so, give some examples to support your opinion. If not, give examples and explain your plan to correct the problem.
So I do agree with Bryan over here about the communication. We've come across many different scenarios, and it always comes back to communication. And I'll tell you what, I am so frustrated with that answer whenever we come through. Oh, communication, communication. No, you have a job, you do your job. And I've expressed this in meetings, that every time there's something going on with the red tape or something going on with the permits or the code, it's always, oh, it went to person A but didn't get to person C, we lost communication. I've really reached my wit's end on this communication excuse, and it's becoming more and more unacceptable. Now, as far as the, opening up to businesses, I feel like, I mean, whoever wants to come open up a business, come open up a business. If there is, granted, some of the larger corporations, they get their lawyers involved in a lot of things, and it runs very smoothly for them. You get small business owners that want to do some things, and that's where the trouble starts to happen, is when it's people who are on a shoestring budget, and they want to come in, they want to open a business, change their life, try to make something, out of nothing, and then they run into a bunch of obstacles. That absolutely needs to change for sure. But overall, I feel like that I don't think anybody was turned away at any office here because their business was too diverse, I guess. I mean, the question was, what can we do to bring more diverse businesses in here? I don't think anybody was necessarily turned away. I think everybody has an equal opportunity to open their business here. It's just we need to be able to support the small business owners. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan, same question. Would you like me to repeat it, or are you good to go?
I think I got it. Yeah.
Okay, please proceed.
I think that as a city, we do pretty well at getting business to come here and being open with our business. We have a great slogan as a city, shop local. It's my upbringing here, small business was always the backbone of this community, and I think it should still continue to be. Obviously, everybody talks about the red tape and the issues that we have sometimes with opening up a business in some of these older buildings. We have new regulations, ADA, that's a federal regulation. We have to figure out ways to either help support the new business with some sort of financials or some sort of breaks that we can give them to get them to pass those inspections of the new regulations, especially in these older dilapidated buildings that we want to try to use. I think it would be cool to use the older buildings of AJ, historical buildings. It would have been really cool to have seen Cobb's stay and maybe turned into something. Instead it got turned into a Dutch Bros, which I know some people love, but there's plenty of good small coffee shops in town too. The Chamber of Commerce does a great job every week. They showcase, I think it's every week, they showcase 2 local businesses. We do the local business week every year here, and you can purchase a card and help support local businesses. I'm a small businessman myself, Schroeder, small businessman himself. Local small communities are built, by our neighbors, me, you, us, him, her, your neighbors, your pastors, those of us in the community, and it's important that we support one another. Obviously, we need to bring in a new business, but it's important to me to bring in local business, ma and pa, like Prescott's downtown area. They keep it a 1 square block of local small businesses. They don't allow corporates in, and I think we should do something like that here with our development of our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Okay. We'll move on to our next question, and this question, Mr. Solar, you get to be first.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. How will you use your position on City Council to ensure sustainability of Apache Junction's 100-year designation of assured water supplies in a rapidly changing water environment?
That's a great question. That's one of the things why I want to be on council, one of the reasons I want to be on council. We really need to watchdog our water. I was at the water meeting the other night. They told us we had 100 years of water. What does that mean? 100 years of water. 100 years of water for who, how many homes, how many businesses? We don't know what the magical number is. So we need to get beyond that board, and we need to watchdog that. We need to always look for other resources for water to make sure we can maintain, but we have to ensure that we watch our natural resources and ensure that we have enough to sustain us for this generation, the next generation, and down the line, because 100 years goes in the blink of an eye, and we never thought we'd be finding mob hits of the 70s in Lake Mead, and here we are. The lake's so low, they're finding all the mob hits. So the bottom line is we have to really watchdog that, and I want to be on that board so I can ask the tough questions. One of the questions they never answered, what do we do about people with established wells? You start drawing water off, those wells are going to run dry. What do we do with those people? How do we help those people? You know, how do we keep their water supply? I want to ensure that we protect everybody's natural resources and water, and that's the main reason I really want to run for Apache Junction Council, because I'm concerned. I'm concerned about how many homes are going in and how much water we're going to use. And when we make agreements with the reservation or maybe the city of Mesa to get water, that's fine until tough times come. And at tough times, those agreements probably go away. So we need to make sure we have sustainable water for our population now and into the future before we build anything else, and know exactly what our numbers are.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Yes, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, right?
Yep.
So, yep. Mr. Schroeder, same question, please.
Okay, so yeah, the 100-year water. So during the last debate, you got a little brief summary about the acre feet that is available to us and the acre feet that we use every year. And to date, we use a quarter of it. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be conscious about the water conservation. One of the things I like to see happen is we've getting all these builds going all around town, down south, you know, north, south, east, west. I like to see water-friendly builds. I like to see desert landscape, artificial turf. These are all requirements for the builders. The low-flow toilets. I'd like to see like tankless water heaters, as just that's what you get in your house that is being built right now. The faucets, the shower heads, all water conservation certified. And basically anything that's water related in a new build should go through a certification that allows that shows water conservation. I'd like to see that happen. Avoid industries that water is a major factor in their business, such as like a battery plant. I mean, they would need millions of gallons of water a day to cool down some of their machinery. And education, for sure. A water audit on yourself. You see your toilet's got a flap that leaks, change it. The hose bib in the backyard is dripping, fix it. You know, the faucet's is dripping, fix it. You know, if we all come together as a community and do our part in our own homes, we're conserving water probably by the millions of gallons a year just from leaky toilets, hose bibs, and faucets. If we can get that out to the public and educate them on what it means to conserve water, that's half the battle. So on one hand, if we can get the builders to build water-friendly homes and the homeowners existing to change the leaks in their homes, we'll have it worked out.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan, same question.
It's a
Would you like
great
me to
question.
repeat it? Or
No,
you
we're good. We're
Okay.
good. I'm just trying to think how I'm going to phrase this when Mr. Schroeder stole my answers over here. No, water conservation is an important thing here in the desert. We're in the desert. We've had rain the last couple of days, which is really nice, but that doesn't always happen. We've had years of dry spells, and that's how we replenish our wells and our water retention. But at meetings, it's a big concern of people. They always ask the water, and we get told a bunch of just numbers, you know, numbers this, 100 years this, which is good. It's cool that we have that, but like Schroeder was saying, it's important that we educate people of what we can do as an individual and as a community to preserve our water and make sure it lasts not 100 years, maybe we can stretch it to 150 years with artificial lawn turf instead of grass. I believe it's over a 10-year span. I used to work in turf for a few years. Over a 10-year span, the money that you spend on the turf, you've already saved in water payments. So not just the money on the water, but you're saving that water resource. The toilets, you know, the low-flow toilets aren't like they used to be. You could flush golf balls down them now is how they advertise them. So we're not going to have any issues using a low flow versus the old school low flows that nobody wanted. There was a King of the Hill episode about the low flows. working with the developments, the new developments, and even smaller communities about desert landscapes, the different water features we could put in the house. I don't want to say low flow and make you have to use a low flow shower head or faucet, but they do have different ways. There's a feature that you see it's in some communities where instead of turning on the faucet with a handle and it runs, there's an attachment where the water comes out of the spigot that you hit it and the water comes out right then, and as soon as you don't need it, it's off. So I think it's huge that we educate each other, educate the community, and different things that we can do as individuals to help preserve our water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross, same question.
Yeah, our water supply right now is really good, but that's right now. You know, we're, like Robert said, we're only using roughly a quarter of what's available to us. However, water's a finite resource. We don't have it forever. Need to come up with alternative sources. On a state level, the state has talked about putting in desalination plants down in the Gulf of California. That works good down there, but it's very difficult to pump that water up a hill up to Phoenix. So by doing that, that water would be used for that area, thus allowing more Colorado River water to come to us. If we could work with the federal government and get a lot of desalination plants put in along the California coast, that would free up more Colorado River water for us and for other western states that utilize it. There's talk about possibly bringing in a water line from the Mississippi River. The information on that from the Corporation Commission was somewhere in the neighborhood of $35 million a mile. Yeah, outrageously expensive. But if you were to bring something like that in, it'd be a permanent water source for forever and ever. Some of the things that the new development down south of the city, they're conserving water by capturing all the rainwater runoff. They're putting in big cisterns underground. They'll reuse all that water for watering all the common areas, all the desert landscaping, which obviously doesn't use a lot of water, but they can use some of that water also for what little turf they'll be putting in. So there's a lot of different unique ways we can conserve water and capture new water sources.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mary Ann hates it when I do this, but I'm going to go off a script for a minute, talking water and talking some of the different ideas that was just brought up just now. So in the SRP watershed, you look at the Salt River flowing down from Roosevelt to Apache to Canyon to Saguaro and then down the Salt, and it's our lifeline right here in the East Valley. But then you look at the Verde watershed, and we've got Bartlett Dam and Horseshoe, and SRP is talking about raising Bartlett Dam to create, I forget how many more millions of acre-feet of water in storage for us here in the East Valley in Apache Junction. So knowing that that's a big ask and that's being worked on currently, where do you stand? Would you be a supporter of raising Bartlett Dam to increase our watershed and maybe some of the fees and things that'll be associated with that to get that built, or do you have other different ideas that you would propose in that space? I think we started with Mr. Solar last time, so Mr. Schroeder, we'll let you lead off on this one.
I believe they're raising that dam because the calcium level at the bottom of it has risen so high that they're running out of room. But yeah, I mean, I would be supportive of finding new avenues of water out here to the East Valley. I don't see why not. And in fact, I believe we were approached as a council for the funding, to help contribute to the funding of this dam. And the presentation they had given us was very informative. It was very optimistic. It was a great idea. But I will say I do believe that dam is primarily being raised because of the calcium level at the bottom of the lake.
So, and thank you, Mr. Schroeder. And I hate to put SRP on the spot, but if that dam was raised to the level that SRP is looking at, how many more millions of acre feet will that create in storage? And a rough number is fine. Okay, but raising it is going to create more storage and not just dig out what's there. I mean, it'll do both.
Very sedimentation at Horseshoe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're going down the stream and raising Bartlett.
To Bartlett.
That's what we're requesting, so that we recover that storage capacity
Yep.
that we lost because of sedimentation.
Uh-huh.
But by raising it, the proposed height, I know that we would be recovering plus some more
Okay.
of storage.
Okay.
So
We'll look to you to get back with that number, so, okay.
I'll check that with
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Kalan.
So you're asking if I would be in support of,
Of raising the dam to create more acre feet off the Verde River.
well, we definitely need water. I don't know how much of the Verde water we get over here. I know that you can go get in it if you go down to Salt River. There's a cool little spot where the two rivers combine. I would say that as a city, I don't think that we should fund it. I think that as, obviously at the end of the day, it's a business. They're a water business. They're making money off it. They should pay for it, and as a business, they're gonna do what they have to do to recover their fees. I don't think that as a city, we should all have to pay for it unless we held some sort of public forum like this and we could all talk and come to some sort of agreement if we wanted to do that. That's tough, because this is all new to me, so that's a good question. You got me off the cuff.
No, fair
But,
enough.
yeah, I would not personally say, let's pay for it. I would say, let them do what they have to do, talk to the communities, and then go from there.
Okay.
I'm
very
not
good.
in, we all have to pay all these bills, especially in this time. We know that tough times are here, and they're gonna be here probably for a little bit financially, and whether we're raising rates on water or this, that's gonna hurt us all and in the household.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross.
Yeah, as I stated earlier, we need to come up with all kinds of water sources. And raising a dam to create more storage capacity is a great idea. As SRP alluded to, the bottom of the lake is filling up with sediment, and in order to compensate for that, you raise the dam up, kind of how they've had to raise the dam up at Roosevelt. I do an inspection at the Roosevelt Dam and Mormon Flat Dam and Horse Mesa Dam on a regular basis with the work I do. And it's a really unique process how they pump water through the turbines. During the day, they let water flow through the turbines, and at night, they pump the water back up from each lake to all the way back up into the Roosevelt watershed or into Roosevelt Lake, and then start the process over again the next morning, because it's cheaper to pump water at night versus during the day. That being said, having more capacity, and most likely, all of us will pay for it, whether it be through our SRP bills being raised slightly, or whether, on a statewide basis, because that water's gonna be provided to anybody that, or not water necessarily, but the power is provided to, all SRP customers. So they're not asking us as Apache Junction to pay for it all solely. They're talking about each community paying a small share, and everybody benefits from it.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar.
I agree with my compadre here. Bottom line is we need to look at every alternative to water there is, and if raising the dam gets us more water, that's a good thing. I don't want taxpayers' money going to it, because once they do that, they will bill everybody in the state. Everybody in the state's going to have to take a little piece of the pie on this, probably. So it's not going to be the Apache Junction people footing the bill for the Bartlett buildup. But I do believe we ought to look into that and support it as a city, and give more support, knowing that we need the water. I also agree with them about all the other alternatives with all the new technology. Let's make our desert environment water, our houses water friendly. Make sure that we do everything we can to conserve water now so we have it and have it later. And that would be part of the plan, would be Bartlett Lake being raised to give us a little more water.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mary Ann, I'll get back on script now, so. All right, Mr. Kalan, I believe we'll start this question with you. We led off with Mr. Schroeder on my extra question in there. So, all right, let's see. The city has a Health and Human Services Commission that is responsible for distributing $80,000 to various local nonprofits. What are your thoughts on, one, the way the money is distributed, and two, what other duties should the commission take on?
The Health and Human Service Commission?
Correct.
Well, this is pretty near and dear to me. I have a family member who has his own issues, and he's dealt with a lot of mental health, and that they deal with a lot of that with the Health and Human Services. I don't know exactly all where their money goes. Obviously, it's something that I'll have to look into when elected and figure more of that out. But I will say we do have great programs here in AJ with our Health and Human Services. We have the hot meals over here. We also have every Thursday, I think. And then also over here at the multi-generational center, they open it up for showers for people that need to come in and take showers. So that's pretty cool. When it comes to a lot of stuff too, I believe it's a lot of the community helping our neighbors out. Our churches have to get involved a lot with helping out those people. It's the community that's going to come together and be able to do what we need to do to help one another. Obviously, we have our government institutions there to do what they're going to do and what they're there for, but they can only do so much. We need the community to also be there and do what we can do to help out our neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The city has a Health and Human Services Commission that is responsible for distributing $80,000 to various local nonprofits. What are your thoughts on, one, the way the money is distributed, and two, what other duties could the commission take on, if any?
Well, I'm in favor of the way the current distribution has occurred with the 80,000. They reach out to each of the groups that are on the list, and they have them put down like their request as to how much they would like to try and get donated. The city has been doing this $80,000 for the last numerous years, and that money has been going to a really good cause. I would like to see somehow we reach out to more corporate donations and try and increase that money through private sector donations versus taxpayers flipping the bill. It seems like a lot of times corporations tend to have a lot more money that they can donate and utilize to services that are greatly needed. We do have a homeless situation here in AJ that a lot of people are hurting right now, especially with our super inflated inflation that we have. So as far as what are some of the other things that the commission can do, that would be it. Reaching out to find other sources, more sources, not just other sources, but more sources of revenue that will help out those in our community that are desperately needing help.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar, same question.
I agree 100% with him. We need to reach out to our corporations and try to get more money for these worthy causes. The nonprofits really do help the city out. They help with all different types of programs. And one of the ones he just mentioned is one that we need to address in Apache Junction. That's the homeless. And I would like to see us have the Health and Human Services work with the police department and the city court. And I have an idea how to do this because this is what I did in Mesa. I came up and helped develop a homeless initiative plan over in Mesa. And I would like to do something like that. And that would be a big part of it, is to get that help out to the homeless and try to get them off the street and use not only the police department and the city court, but all the other nonprofits to help reach out to them, offer them resources, try to get them off the street, try to get them educated to all their options that they have, and get them into rehabs if they have drug or alcohol issues. And Health and Human Services will be able to help do that. But we need to get up the money too. We need 80,000. Sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not a lot of money when you have a lot of issues like you know, people with special needs, children, and, you know, the poverty level, people that are just barely hanging on that need help, that aren't homeless, your homeless populations. So we do have a lot of need to support that organization.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder, same question.
So, giving taxpayer dollars to nonprofit organizations is a hot topic all in itself. But here we are, and we do have a Health and Human Services, and overall, I feel like they did a pretty good job. I was disappointed in the last distribution. We have, you know, the Boys and Girls Club, great, Genesis, Food Bank, all those are great organizations to help out. Now, there was one item where the CDC, which is basically a nonprofit that goes around and cleans up properties, and make a difference day and things like that. They received more money than an abuse center. I feel like I was appalled when I saw that. An organization that fills up dumpsters received more funding than an abuse center. It was amazing to me. I feel like they need to really reconsider when they do next year. I feel like the Health and Human Services should probably go visit these places, talk to people, not just look at an application. I don't know how that funding got in there, but I feel like the next time it comes across this dais, if I'm still sitting on this dais, is if I see organizations like an abuse center or an alcohol center receiving less funding than a cleanup nonprofit, I will vote no on that every single time. And I feel like they really need to reevaluate on where they give their money. I think it needs to be a more personal funding, and it needs to go directly to help people in need in surviving in the heat, the food, abuse, all these things. It shouldn't be designed to help people clean up their yard. And that's where I stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. All right, I'm going to throw out a nice little softball question this time, see where you guys take it. Mr. Cross, I believe you are first this time. Let's see. Am I right? Yep, you're Mr. Cross. You get the softball coming at you. If elected to the city council, who would you consider your stakeholders, and how would you propose to represent them?
Obviously, my stakeholders are every single citizen here in the city of Apache Junction. I'm here to represent them, what they need, what they want, how can I help you type attitude. There's so often we see people get elected to a position. They do great for a year or so, but then it's all about trying to get reelected, or they just forget that they represent everybody, not just a select few. And we see all the time on Facebook a small minority of people barking and screaming about issues in town. But that's not everybody. That's only a small handful of people that, you know, I guess have nothing better to do than complain about how the city's going, versus coming out and lending a hand and getting up here or getting their hands dirty and working and volunteering for our city. And there's a lot of things we can do to make our city better, but you know, being up here and representing everybody is the key. I've kind of made the comments in some of my literature that, you know, I want to be the best person, the most approachable city council member out there. My phone number is very public. It's everywhere. If you want to talk to me, talk to me. I'm willing to help wherever I can. I love helping people, and I hope to be able to continue helping people.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar, same question.
Exactly what he said. I represent the citizens of Apache Junction. I plan on having an open door. My phone number's out there too. I've served the community over in Mesa for 33 years as a law enforcement officer. I'm not afraid to put my phone number out there for everybody to have. I am willing to come meet with you, or you meet with me. He's absolutely right. There's extremes on either end. we got to take everybody should have a voice, everybody should be heard, but then we have to err on the side of the majority, what's best for the majority of our residents. After we've talked to people and after we've got all the facts, then as council, we should err on the side of doing what's best for the majority of our residents. Because if you go for the extremes, sometimes it gets way out there and the majority really get hurt bad. So, but I represent the people. I'll be open and honest with you. I will, I believe in clarity of government, that it's open, honest, and I'm open to. So I will meet and have meetings with anybody that wants to meet with me. And hopefully, if I get elected council, we can move this city forward and have a lot of people's input in how we do that. Because it all is about representing the people and their input, not mine.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder, same question.
Yeah, could you repeat it? I mean,
You bet.
just for the sake of,
If elected to the city council, who would you consider your stakeholders, and how would you propose to represent them?
well, yeah, there really is just one answer for that. Of course, the stakeholders would be the citizens, the businesses, families, my family. I would probably own most of the stock in my own, because I believe that you need to be an approachable person, and I believe I am an approachable person. I enjoy a lot, I like doing a lot of things just like a regular guy. I mean, I golf, I play softball. I mean, I'm just one of you guys. I just go out there, I get the information, I make decisions based on the information that I read to the best of my ability. So everything I do is for the people of this city, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I really enjoy serving this city, and I would see that stock going up here come August. So, yeah, the constituents, are my shareholders.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan, same question.
Ditto.
Shareholders here in the room, shareholders watching through that, there, sitting here, here, the residents of AJ, the businesses in AJ. The purpose of city government is to help facilitate business in the community and to make sure that the residents' voices are heard. I'm a normal guy. I'm pretty approachable. Anybody has to talk about anything, has any concerns, what they want to do, I'm just like all them. We're all pretty similar in that aspect of, hey, let's have a chat. What can we do? What do you want to see happen in the city? Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people over the last 6-7 months, knocking on doors, essentially playing defense because I'm coming to your house. And the biggest concern that I've heard from people is, where are we headed as a city and what are we going to turn into? And it's important that everybody gets involved and that we reach out to those people that feel like their voices aren't being heard because they don't understand, they might not realize how it affects them or what they can do to be heard. We need to make a better effort in hearing those people as well, not just the ones that show up. It's hard to do, obviously, not just hear the ones that show up every 2 weeks. It's important that we try to communicate better with our fellow residents, whether it's through the newspaper, through the social media apps, whatever they do now, or just being on the street and talking to people. I'm here to represent the city of AJ. I love AJ. I plan on being here my whole life. I bleed black and gold, which was the high school colors, and I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. All right, on to the next question, and I believe we'll lead off with Mr. Solar on this question. Mr. Solar, how do you feel about the transportation options currently available in our city? Can all our residents affordably get where they need to go? It's a big, several-part question here, so stick with me. If not, what will you do to improve transportation in our city, and what do you suggest for the funding of efficient transportation in our city?
That's a good question, because I've been talking to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want transportation in our city. They see that as bringing in a lot of problems, and it can. I mean, I have transportation in the city I work in, and a lot of problems are because of that. But we still need to be able to help our people that need to get to transportation, like over to the light rail or wherever. I believe we can do that. I think we can reach out to some of these van industries that can bring vans over and pick people up at certain places at certain times and take them to where they need to go, kind of like we have for the senior citizens that need transportation. They can call and get transportation. I don't know if I'd have to see all the facts and see how it's going to affect us to bring any type of mass transit into this city. There are a lot of issues and a lot of concerns I have with mass transit coming to the city of Apache Junction because I deal with it on a daily basis. But I do believe there are alternatives out there to get people transportation, and the city can work on plans with other entities to get that type of transportation. So that's something I'd be willing to look at. But when it comes to mass transit, I'm very leery. I'd have to see all the facts, and I'd have to have the people's opinion on that, because I can tell you, most people, one of the things they say is, I don't want mass transit in Apache Junction.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder.
So I've been getting mixed opinions on it. Bottom line, mass transit is just unsustainable here. We simply just can't afford it. I mean, it's bottom line. Now, however, as we grow down to the south, as we grow, I mean, you've guys been around the city. There's builds going up everywhere. As population grows, our budget grows through the state. Now, not to say 10 years down the road, we're in a position where we could bring in a bus system. That's highly plausible if you're starting to look at 70, 80,000 strong. And in the season, you're looking at over 100,000 strong when the snowbirds come back into town. For now, I feel like I agree with Bryan. I feel like there could be some sort of transportation program. I don't know if it would be, it would have to have some regulations. You know, I wouldn't want my daughter to say she wants to run up to Dutch Bros to give me a ride. You know what I mean? You would have to really qualify in a way of disability, or you need to get to work in a way if you don't have a car. But I think that's a can of worms we just don't want to get into right now. I really do. So in my opinion, I don't think transportation would be something that would be high on my list to try to push through the city.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan, same question.
I'm not quite sure if we're large enough of a city to have a public transportation system. But we could look at something like we talked about, like Solar talked about, the senior citizens can do the ride sharing and the vans. Maybe we can come up with some programs for that to help facilitate for people to get to the main busway over there off of Power Road in McDowell, and Power Road in the 60, so they can get to where they need to go if they do not have transportation. I would be in favor of maybe looking at something just for a local reason here in town, maybe some sort of trolley through the downtown, since our downtown as it is now is not really a walkable downtown. So it would be nice to have some sort of trolley fare, whether it's free on the weekends for shoppers and residents that want to explore the city. That just takes you around the downtown corridor to the local shops and businesses. That would be something that would be interesting to look at. But when it comes to having like a mass transit here in town, I don't think that we're there yet. Plus, as Bryan had said, what that could bring, and with his experience, what he's seen, a lot of people are concerned with what that could bring to the city. And obviously, I don't think our budget is there to incorporate something like that into the city.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross.
Yeah, right now, AJ obviously cannot afford any kind of a transportation. They looked into it a few years ago. There was a $300,000 grant that was available possibly to bring in transportation. And that was in the form of an express bus going to and from Mesa. And financially, it wouldn't work. And if you go anywhere where the buses run now, or the light rail down through Tempe, it's empty. On rush hour, I see that thing, it's maybe 25% full. It just does not get used a lot. Now, would I be in favor of an express bus run from here to Mesa to the main, the main hub at Power? If it can be self-sustaining and it pays for itself through the fares that it collects, yeah. But if we're talking only 3-4 people a day utilizing it, that's not very efficient and that's not very cost effective. And you'd probably be better off taking the hundreds of thousands of dollars you're using to bus, a handful of people and give them Uber vouchers or something to get from point A to point B. And you'd probably be saving money doing something like that. So, I mean, obviously that's not a great answer, but it's an idea. There's got to be some way. I have had people say, why can't we get a bus system out here to get us into Mesa or get us into Tempe? Well, why'd you move out here if you didn't have transportation, right? You don't come to a city and say, hey, I demand bus service. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. And just a reminder to the audience, we're being recorded live, so we can keep it down just a little bit, please. Mr. Schroeder, first question is for you this time. In April, the City Council adopted an updated economic development strategic plan. 2 of the 4 strategic priorities include business recruitment, expansion, and workforce development. How do you plan to support the existing business base while working to attract new businesses and industry in the target sectors, as well as supporting small business entrepreneurs?
Can you repeat that one more time?
That's a long one, and most of it's just the buildup. The final questions are, I'll read all of it for you. In April, the City Council adopted an updated economic development strategic plan. 2 of the 4 strategic priorities included business recruitment, expansion, and workforce development. Okay? How do you plan to support the existing business base while working to attract new businesses and industry in the target sectors?
Well, this all, we always will support the existing business base. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, if you're talking about all these new businesses coming in with their nice buildings and their curb appeal, and they're attracting all the employees, and they're getting all the business, and how would we support the existing businesses to survive? Well, I would just say, curb appeal, customer service, make your business a place that people want to go to, and then people will go to it, whether or not it's I had lunch at Toast today. It's absolutely delicious. Doesn't mean that if an Applebee's rolled up with the fancy chandeliers and the full bar that I would go there instead, because I happen to love the food over there at Toast. And I think a lot of it has to do with the business themselves. I mean, we as a city can do what we can to support the businesses. But if we were to come in there and say, well, you need to paint your business, well, now we're being difficult and unfriendly, business unfriendly. So that wouldn't work. So when it comes to small businesses, there's no difference between you and the corporation of the people they have hired to run their business. It's all about how you promote your business and how you treat your customers and the type of product that you can produce in your business. I would support anything that comes into town as far as business-wise goes, but if you want to compete with some of the corporations, it really, if you go in there and the people are good, the food is good, or the merchandise is fairly priced, you'll do just fine. I don't think anybody would have a problem.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Kalan.
I'll reiterate again, shop local, mom and pa's. That's Apache Junction, and it always has been since I was a kid and generations before me. And it's important that we try to maintain that as much as we can. Obviously, there's going to be bigger businesses that are going to want to come in, and we're going to have to foster those and figure out where to put them and what to do with them. But I propose that we try to keep the downtown area ma and pa and small business shops, whether they're antique shops, jewelry shops, restaurants, bars, just a nice little downtown area run essentially by the people of the city, with their stake in owning the businesses there. And we have to do what we can to make it easy for the ma and pa's to be able to open, especially in these older buildings where we have problems. You know, the ADA problems or the pipe problems or some of the septic problems. We have to figure out ways to where we can maybe get them grants, or forego some of their dues up front and put those off and pay them off throughout time. Like I said, I'm a local guy, and I'm huge into the small town. You know, the AJ, try to retain what we can as a city. And I think the biggest way we can do that with the businesses is support one another and our small ma and pa's, and try to keep, obviously, we're going to have chains. They're going to come. We got the Popeyes now. We got the Panda Express now. But I think it's important that we try to limit those big chains in where we put them within the city. And I think we should make our downtown a local, so that does the most help and benefit to the people of AJ, because it's essentially putting money in each one of our pockets, not just through taxes, but to our neighbors for their dinner and for their mortgage payment and for their kids' futures.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Cross.
Yeah, as we know, the small business owners, the small businesses as a whole are the backbone of our entire country, in essence. One of the things I've noticed over the last few years, our Apache Junction High School has gotten better and better with their grades, gotten better and better with their accolades as far as being a more accredited school. That's one of the things that businesses look for, is what is the workforce coming up the ranks? Are we going to have educated people that can help us do our business? And so when a bigger corporation is looking at an industrial area and they're looking for a workforce, that's some of the things that they look at. And right now our school system is doing pretty darn good. They're improving every year, and it's wonderful to see. But you know, our small businesses, the strategic plan spelled out a lot of different things, and you know, promoting our small businesses and business altogether was one of the key topics. So we need to work with that strategic plan and put it into practice, and continue, you know, searching out and looking for, you know, businesses to come here. As long as we're a business-friendly government, you know, those places will come to us. As our population grows, they'll come to us. And I think we have a great opportunity to have a lot of good mom-and-pop shops, kind of like Ari was stating, in our downtown core area. It'd be great to see a lot of small shops, not name-brand big entities. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Solar.
I read the strategic plan. It's a very well-written document, and it covers almost everything we've talked about tonight. Yeah. The zones, there's 3 zones along the trail in there, and one of them is the middle section, which is the western theme, and the city needs to work with the businesses and help them be able to rejuvenate their properties, any abandoned properties or properties that aren't filled, try to get them filled. Mom and pops are at my heart. I do not like big box retailers. But as for businesses, we're going to support the small businesses, and we're going to try to find breaks for them and try to find ways to help them become better and make their places better, if it means having to redo their plumbing, or if it means redoing their parking lot or something like that. I would love to work on projects like that for the small businesses and the small business owners. For the big businesses that are going to look for the industrial areas, we have a golden opportunity. We have a good high school that's getting better. We have a college campus just down the street. And the strategic plan says this. I want to work with them to find out what type of businesses we can bring in here and what type of training they have. And let's get that training to our residents so they can get those jobs when they come in, whether it's a warehouse or maybe electric car plant or whatever. There's a lot of growth, and the 24 is an ideal place in that area because Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport's right there, and it's going to be a major hub for stuff like all that avionics. So if we can work with the bigger businesses, tell them, hey, we'll get college classes to teach our people and get you that experience. So I want to reach out to businesses that really want to come here and try to help them while working really hard on our local businesses and keeping our downtown a small western feel. And that's going through different things with the city and zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Schroeder,
I'd like a rebuttal a little bit.
please proceed.
I speak this from experience, having owned a business here in Apache Junction. Whether you're Lucky Bob's Liquor or Bevmo, if you provide a good service, good customer service, you provide a good product, and you provide a pleasant visit to your establishment, you will survive and you will prosper. And there's nothing anybody up here can do to help you. This is something you have to do for your business to survive. It doesn't matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Mr. Solar, 1 minute rebuttal.
I think we can reach out to our small business communities and take care of that. But I want to address getting good paying jobs, high paying jobs for our residents, for any type of industrial complexes or businesses that come to our city. And you got to do that through education. And that's going to be a key part, working with our high school to get our students into the college to learn those trade skills to be able to have those high paid jobs. And I really want to work hard on that for whatever the community decides they want to bring in. Let's get it, and let's get it done right.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Well, believe it or not, we are at the end. And we're done with our question and answers here. Need to start doing the wrap-up. So I can just tell you before we do the closing statements, Apache Junction voters have some tough choices coming up. We've got a very, very bright group of candidates here that understand the issues and understand what they want to see and where they want the city to go. So it's going to be a tough choice for the voters coming up. I can tell you that right now. So in reverse order, we are going to start with Mr. Solar for 1 minute closing statements, please. Mr. Solar.
Again, I'm running for city council because I think I can really help guide and direct the city of Apache Junction, not only in the growth that's coming and make sure it's calculated and controlled, and we know exactly what we're bringing in and how it fits into our community, but also our small business and entrepreneurships. I really want to support them and get them what they need so they can succeed. Work with the city and city management to ensure we're going in the right place. And I really believe in strong law enforcement, and that comes through highly trained professionals, and I want to work to keep our employees. We have great employees. Let's not train them and have them go somewhere else. Let's do things there's other things other than just money and benefits. We can do incentive programs and other things to keep our employees here at Apache Junction so they can help our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solar. Mr. Cross, your closing statement, please.
Yeah. Well, I feel or hope that I've earned your vote, in essence. One of the things, I believe I have the experience and the knowledge to move our city forward, to protect our horse community, to take and get our downtown a theme that is basically conducive to everybody's dreams and hopes. And we don't want to see our downtown become a downtown Tempe or downtown Scottsdale. We want to keep it a nice small community that we've all grown to love. And we are Apache Junction, and I want to help lead us and keep us what we've all come and moved here for. You know, we have a great community, and I just really enjoy working for it and working with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Mr. Kalan, your closing statement, please.
Well, I hope everybody out there has much fun as we did up here tonight. You got to learn a little bit about us. If there's one thing that you've probably seen on my theme about myself is I'm super passionate about Apache Junction, and I want to make sure that we can It's a dying breed out there, but I want to make sure that we can control and keep our small town feel, and not implode into a giant city like they've done down to the south. You just become a mega city packed in. It's important to me that we support one another as a community, shop local, small businesses, make sure our downtown is beautiful, locally owned essentially by one another here in this room, and not just the people in this room, but in this community, and make sure that AJ stays great, stays the town that we've always loved for the longtime residents and the reason why people have moved here. Let's continue being a great small town and control the growth. Like Mr. Mayor Chip said, we want to control the growth and not let it control us.
Thank you, Mr. Kalan. Mr. Schroeder, your closing statement, please.
I would like to take this time, I want to thank Bryan, Darryl, and Ari, the moderator, the chamber, SRP, Southwest Gas. Forums are very important when it comes to elections. People get to know the people that they're going to vote to represent them. And that's what this is really about. This is about you guys. We're up here, we have these questions being answered, and we try our best to give the most educated answer we can give you. But at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that we should all be thanking. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank every single one of you, TV land and in here, for taking the time to listen to our forum, and hopefully you've learned a lot about us and hopefully made some choices for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. And audience and folks, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you again to SRP and Southwest Gas for sponsoring, for the Apache Junction Chamber for their sponsorship of this event. Please go out and make sure you vote on August 2nd. Cast your vote for the candidate that you've researched and you know about, and make that educated vote, and in doing so, you will make the community stronger and better. And with that, we are done.
Mail-in ballots, July 6th.
Darryl?
Yes.
Darryl?
Yes, mail-in ballots,
Would you
July
mind
6th. Yep.
gaveling?
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
We didn't get the Marlboro Man on there, though. I want to say.